celebration for World Oceans Day. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that our campus is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We're all treaty people. We also recognize African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched Mi'kma'ki for over 400 years. Dalhousie's over 200-year-old history is embedded within our rich provincial history, which includes many contributions to science and our society made by remarkable African Nova Scotians and Mi'kmaq people. Our Dal science community is full of outstanding individuals spread across our 8 departments and 16 undergraduate programs, and we have tens of thousands of alumni spread across the world. As a faculty, we're committed to building pathways both for African Nova Scotian and Mi'kmaq high school students, strengthening our connections with these communities, and supporting our students throughout their academic journeys. We're very proud of the leadership shown by the many dedicated individuals who comprise our faculty. We have an amazing group of ocean and Indigenous knowledge experts with us this evening, and we'll be having an enlightening discussion for World Oceans Day on the theme of traditional knowledge. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our moderator for this evening, Aaron Judah. Aaron is currently a student in the Faculty of Science. He's pursuing his honors in marine biology, and he's the president of the Dalhousie Association of Marine Biology Students. Aaron will be leading the discussion. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Chuck, and welcome everyone to our World Oceans Day event. We are thrilled with the panelists joining us to talk about their experiences in traditional knowledge. One of our panelists, Cathy Martin, and the director of the Indigenous engagement at Dalhousie University, will be joining us later tonight due to a delayed flight, but not to worry, they will be here. So we have 4 great panelists ready to share their experiences with traditional knowledge. Now, let's get to know them a little bit better. I will ask each of them to say a little bit about themselves and about their background to get us started. So first, I'm really excited to introduce Olivia Choi.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Choi, and I am speaking to you from Hagilda, Skidegate on Haida Gwaii, the traditional and unceded territory of the Haida. I am the current Marine Shipping and Safety Project Manager with the Marine Planning Program at the Council of the Haida Nation, and I've been here since 2019. And I am an alumni from the Faculty of Science, having graduated with a Master of Marine Management in 2018. And I'm very excited to be here to share some information around what I do for the Council of the Haida Nation and how Haida knowledge informs the work that we do here. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So great to meet you, Olivia. And really happy to have your voice on the panel. Then we also have Raven Stevens Elwell next.
Hi everyone, I'm Raven Stevens Elwell. I'm from Millbrook First Nation. Last year I graduated from Mount Allison University, where I did my Bachelor of Science degree with a major in environmental science and a double minor in biology and Indigenous studies. I am currently a student at Dalhousie University doing my master's degree in marine management. I'm also currently employed as an oceans biologist at the Fisheries and Oceans Canada, where I mainly work on coral and sponge conservation, which is directly related to my grad project, which is focused on coral and sponge conservation and the methods in Canada. So for my grad project, I'm going to be looking at international coral and sponge conservation methods and strategies and see what Canada could implement or adopt into their own conservation policies to better protect these vital species in our regions. I'm so excited to be here today and have this conversation with you guys, and thank you everyone who joined today. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you, Raven. Go coral! Yay, that's so cool. And sponges too, of course. Next, we have Lydia Ross with us tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia, and I'm an alumni of the Dalhousie University Marine Affairs program in the cohort of 2017-2018. I was awarded the Marine Affairs Millennium Prize for Interdisciplinarian of the Year, reflecting my diverse professional and experiential background. My graduate research focused on uncovering the perceptions surrounding the management of Barashwa ponds in Cape Breton, Unama'ki, and more broadly in Nova Scotia. The research was generously supported by the Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources. My supervisor, Dr. Lucia Fanning, and I published the research in Facets Journal in 2021. It is titled Mobilizing Values Using Perceptions of Vereshwa Ponds in Nova Scotia to Advance Informed Management. And in 2018 and 2019, I worked with the Canadian Integrated Ocean Observing System, or CIUS Atlantic, to, among other things, develop a webinar series that explored ethical ways of bringing together Indigenous and Western knowledge systems in the context of coastal and ocean observing systems. The CIUS Atlantic research assistant, Mary Jane Prue, along with myself and other CIUS Atlantic colleagues, developed a literature review that formed the basis of this webinar series. The literature review has since been published in the Frontiers of Marine Science in 2021. It is titled Indigenous Traditional Ecological Knowledge and Ocean Observing, a Review of Successful Partnerships. I currently work as the science writer for Parks Canada's national office, working remotely from Nova Scotia in the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I develop science stories of national scope and interest related to science and conservation, and I'm deeply honored to be here today. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Lydia, and also for your input tonight. Next, we have Alanna Syliboy as well.
Thank you, Erin. And so, Ninda Luis and Alanna Syliboy. So, hello, my name is Alanna Syliboy. I am from Sebago-Negative First Nation, and I work for the Confederacy of the Mainland Mi'kmaq for the Aquatics Department. My role is, or my title is the Culture and Education and Engagement Manager. I oversee incorporating Mi'kmaq culture, language, knowledge, and anything around our culture into the work that we do. So it's my role. I work strictly with aquatics, so we're in rivers and habitats and in the ocean as well. So I've been here for 8 years, yeah, so it's my responsibility to make sure that we are respectfully incorporating Mi'kmaq knowledge into, well, the Mi'kmaq knowledge system into the work that we're doing from the time of community concerns right until the deliverables and outcomes into the final reporting. So I oversee that, but I don't do it alone. I have a long list of supports within the communities, elders and youth and knowledge holders. I could never do this alone. So yeah, and I'm just honored to be here today, and I look forward to learning from the other panelists and excited to share my knowledge that I have. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alanna. That is fantastic, and it's really amazing to have all of you panelists here talking to us about our theme tonight and share your knowledge and experiences on the subject. So to begin the discussion, I'd like to ask Raven, as an Indigenous student pursuing your Master in Marine Management, do you find traditional knowledge to be incorporated into your studies?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Surprisingly, yes. So throughout, I feel like my entire Western education experience, the involvement of Indigenous people, Indigenous knowledge, consultation, felt a bit kind of like an afterthought in some cases and in some classes. Additionally, I have had encounters with both Canadian and non-Canadian students who have told me that they've never learned anything in their education about Indigenous people and about Indigenous history. And in some cases, students have even told me that they thought that Indigenous people were extinct, which was crazy to hear this because growing up on reservation, I'd always knew about Indigenous history and Indigenous knowledge. So it was really surprising knowing that a lot of Canadians haven't had this education experience. But I feel like our education system and society is evolving, and Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous studies are being more incorporated into Western education. Particularly in the MMM program, they really seem to make it a top priority. And I really do appreciate it being as incorporated as it is, not just as an Indigenous person, but also as an MMM student, because Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous involvement is so crucial for conserving our oceans efficiently and effectively. And I think that Indigenous knowledge, treaties, traditions, involvement has been brought up in almost, if not all, of my MMM classes that I've taken thus far. So it is very incorporated in my studies.
That's fantastic. I'm really, really glad that it's been incorporated well into the Master's in Marine Management and your studies. So thank you so much, Raven. Now, Alanna, could you tell us a bit more about Mi'kmaq Conservation Group's mission to promote and restore the concept of Nutukalink in the Bay of Fundy watershed and why it's such an important issue?
Yeah, so the group, a part of the group that I work for is the Mi'kmaq Conservation Group, we are an AROM body, so that we are fully funded through DFO. And there's many other AROM bodies throughout Canada. So the Mi'kmaq Conservation Group's mission statement is to promote and restore the concept of Nutukalink within the Bay of Fundy watershed. This is important because the Bay of Fundy is very fundamental to us Mi'kmaq people. This is where, you know, the creation story began. This is where a lot of our traditions and cultures, stories and legends have come from. This specific body of water has thrived for thousands of years. It's helped our people thrive and survive for thousands of years. This body of water has spiritual connections. It has cultural connections. It's where we're from, and all along that body of water is, there's lots of areas of, and evidence of our people living and using that water system. And, it has given us the bounty of tools, like rocks for tools and, for food. And, it's even traveling. Parts of the tributaries and the rivers that come off the body of water, those are our portage routes. So this Bay of Fundy is one of the most important pieces of, our history. And, we want to make sure that we are revitalizing this concept of Nutukalink so that we can, ensure that there are species and the things that we need to keep surviving so that my children can benefit from it and my children's children can benefit from it. But also making sure that they're not, using up as much as they can, because they have a responsibility. We have rights as Mi'kmaq people, but with those rights, we also have responsibilities. So promoting this and restoring this concept, it's just another form of sustainability. And I think that we're all on the same page when it comes to sustainability. So that's when we are practicing Nutukalink, whether you're Indigenous or not. But this particular watershed has much more meaning to us Mi'kmaq people, and the group and the communities that we serve. They're users of this system, and we're helping them, use this concept, whether it's for fishing, for commercially, or fishing for food or ceremony, whether it's any of the work and monitoring that we're doing, making sure that, we're not overworking this species and anything that has given to us from this particular piece of water.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for the work that you do. That's really fantastic. Now moving on to Lydia, could you tell us a bit about your work that explored ethical ways of bringing together Indigenous and Western knowledge systems within the context of coastal and the ocean observing system?
For sure. So as I mentioned, I worked for CEUS, the Canadian Integrated Ocean Observing System in the Atlantic region. CEUS is an open access data platform for accessing, discovering, and reusing different kinds of ocean data for different purposes. And CEUS uses the FAIR data principles. And what that means is the data is findable, it's accessible, meaning you can download it, it's interoperable, meaning it uses data standards, and it's reusable with accurate metadata. So in 2019, a group of Indigenous delegates attended the Decadal Ocean OBS Conference and developed the Ahahuana Coastal Indigenous Peoples Declaration. It called on the ocean observing system community to formally recognize the traditional knowledge of Indigenous peoples, among many other important things. So building onto this assertion, myself and my colleagues from CUSE Atlantic developed a literature review that highlighted instances where traditional ecological knowledge had been digitized using some or all of the FAIR principles, as well as the factors that contributed to these successful outcomes and the risks of digitizing traditional knowledge. Based on the findings of this literature review, we developed a 3-part webinar series to hear from those who have experience digitizing and sharing Indigenous knowledge, some of whom are here today as my fellow panelists. A number of risks to digitizing traditional knowledge were identified, and just a few of these include the inherent sensitivity of this information, intellectual property ownership issues, and the decontextualization of Indigenous knowledge. Given that traditional knowledge is orally transmitted, it's important that the essence of this knowledge not deviate from the way it was intended to be understood and used in the digitization process. So these risks can be mitigated in a few ways, but like the risks that I outlined, these solutions are not exhaustive. I encourage you to visit the CUSE Atlantic website to read the literature review and to watch the webinar series to learn more. Ultimately, though, the FAIR data principles can create tensions with some Indigenous peoples who want to retain greater control over their sensitive information. The CARE principles were therefore developed to support Indigenous data sovereignty. These principles consider the collective benefit for Indigenous peoples in sharing their information, the authority to control their own information, and an overall greater level of responsibility and ethics around data collection and use. Traditional knowledge can also be managed in digital environments using local contexts. This is a customizable metadata labeling system that enables Indigenous communities to append local protocols for accessing and using their traditional knowledge. This can include attribution labels to particular communities, or even seasonal labels, which denote that certain data should only be accessed and used during certain seasons. There is not a one-size-fits-all approach to digitization, given the place-based nature of traditional knowledge. Therefore, these labels are adaptable at the community level. There are other tools like the OCAP training tools that ensure Indigenous communities retain ownership, control, authority, and possession over their information. So overall, the question isn't really whether or not to digitize traditional knowledge, although that question should be left up to Indigenous communities to decide. It's more whether the benefits of digitization outweigh the risks associated with making this information accessible. But given that the ocean is a highly complex system and that it's facing a critical crisis situation, it's important that Western researchers work respectfully with Indigenous knowledge holders to gain a more holistic understanding of our ocean space so that we can build mutually beneficial solutions to addressing the crisis that we're all in together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing to advance the collaboration within Indigenous and Western knowledge systems. And those resources sound fantastic. We'd love to have those as well. And we'll definitely try and hopefully provide access to them to the people here. Now, moving on to Olivia, can you tell us a bit about your role at the Council of the Haida Nation and how Haida knowledge informs marine planning on Haida Gwaii?
Sure. So I'll just start with a bit of background on the Council of the Haida Nation. So the Council of the Haida Nation, or CHN, is the governing body of the Haida Nation and was formed in 1974. Its mandate includes Haida Gwaii and surrounding waters, and responsibilities include working towards full independence, sovereignty, and self-sufficiency of the Haida Nation, and perpetuating Haida heritage and cultural identity. So my role as the project manager for marine shipping and safety within the marine planning program involves working on a number of different initiatives to address increasing marine shipping and the risks in Haida territories. And this work involves working in collaboration with the Government of Canada, the Province of British Columbia, and other First Nations on the Pacific North Coast. To provide a bit of context, in 2018, the Haida Nation and several other Pacific North Coast First Nations, the Government of Canada, signed a reconciliation framework agreement for bioregional oceans management and protection. And this is a unique agreement in the Northern Shelf bioregion that establishes and formalizes a structure for collaborative governance of oceans management in this region. So that really formalizes how we work together on marine initiatives. And Haida knowledge is integral to the work that we do, not only on Haida Gwaii, but the work within the region as well. And an example of this is the Haida Marine Traditional Knowledge that was completed in 2011. And it's just one example of efforts to document Haida knowledge that are used to date to inform management decisions. It records oral accounts and observations dating back to the 1920s and includes record of more than 4,000 locations and 150 marine species. And this study helps to inform, as I mentioned, marine management decisions. It was also really fundamental to the development of the Haida Gwaii Marine Plan that was established in 2015 and as a collaborative plan between the Council of the Haida Nation and the province of BC, and provides kind of long-term strategic use objectives for the marine space. Other examples of how Haida knowledge informs planning in Haida territories includes cultural conservation priorities, which were identified and informed by the Haida Marine Traditional Knowledge Study, as well as input from our various Haida leadership committees. And these cultural conservation priorities, or CCPs, are used to inform the Marine Protected Area Network planning process in the Northern Shelf bioregion, which is a collaborative initiative between the Pacific North Coast First Nations, including CHN, DFO, and the province. Other areas which I kind of work on more closely are areas of concern that have been identified across Haida Gwaii, and these are priority sites that are particularly sensitive to oil spills. There are more than 120 areas of concern that have been identified through workshops and the HMTK study. And we've been working for the last several years to develop geographic response plans and tactical spill response strategies to prepare and prepare us in the event of a marine emergency.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much. Now throwing it back to Alanna, could you tell us a little bit more about your role and how it integrates into traditional knowledge and maybe some examples of that?
Yeah, for sure. I think my role would be a little bit reversed. I have to find ways that I can integrate science into traditional knowledge, especially with my project. So I'll start with the project that I'm working on, and then I can go to our department. So the project that I'm working on, it's called Mi'kmaq Knowledge in Food. And this idea came from one of my friends had tried traditional meat and had said it was gross. And I'm like, wow, our taste buds are really colonized, because we should be able to eat all of the things that were here. Like I found out, like, our people ate sea urchins, and I'm like, wow, I really want to try that because, if my ancestors lived off it and survived, so could I. So that gave me an idea for my project. And it's talking, I was going to call it decolonization of our taste buds, but that didn't really suit the needs, because I wanted to add a little bit more components of, braiding in the knowledge from the elders and the knowledge keepers with the youth. So with the project, we're going to be focusing on, so it's called Mi'kmaq Knowledge in Food. We'll be focusing on aquatic species that are identified through the community. So all of the 8 mainland Mi'kmaq communities will be able to pick the species that they want. I don't tell them what to do. They pick the 3 species that they want to work on. And once we've decided which species the communities want, we're going to dive into, what does that look like traditionally? How what did we use to harvest? When did we harvest? What ecological knowledge goes around that? And in science, bioindicators, you know, and looking, you know, harvesting methods, traditional knowledge around that, preparation, storage, you know, preservation of these foods, and harvesting methods and tools. And what will happen with that, once we've collected all of this information, we'll be creating videos with those elders and knowledge holders, and we'll be able to take the videos and capture this knowledge and habits for generations. Because, like I think Lydia said, you know, our knowledge and our information is passed on orally, and you know, we're going to take advantage of technology. So, you know, we're incorporating a little bit of science here and there. And then, so what will happen, and then we're going to be creating some of those tools and methods, harvesting methods, and see how they can stand up in today's world and in today's practices. So we'll be cooking and tasting these species on our journey to find the knowledge as well. And my kids have been voluntold to be a part of this too, because I want to make sure that we're including the youth and anyone else that wants to be involved with doing that, because not everyone has the means to or the knowledge to, you know, actually try these, or they don't know how, and, you know, they don't want to make a mistake. So, you know, we want to provide those opportunities for our community members. So that's my project that I will be starting this year, and I'm very excited about it. It's a 2-year project, and I'll be working with all of the 8 mainland Mi'kmaq communities. So lots of Mi'kmaq knowledge in Mi'kmaq knowledge systems usage with very little room for science. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to make sure that, you know, when we're doing all of this work, that people know, you know, that knowledge is what kept us alive, what kept us striving and resilient. And then I just want to capture it because, you know, for the past few years that I've been here, I've made really great connections and relationships with the community members and elders, and, you know, and we've lost quite a bit of elders and knowledge holders through this past couple of years through this pandemic. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that we can capture that information, because when an elder or knowledge holder passes, so does that information, so does that knowledge. And that's hundreds and hundreds of years of knowledge and information. So I wanted to make sure that we're capturing that as well. And again, taking advantage of technology. So that's my project. And so the roles reverse. So I wear a couple of hats within our department. And so when I'm the community liaison for all of our other projects. So what happens is we have very science heavy projects and very data collection and all that fun stuff that everyone knows about. And then it's my job to incorporate and find spaces and find opportunity to combine traditional knowledge and the Mi'kmaq knowledge system with the science. And like I said in my introduction, it's my responsibility to make sure that we are, you know, respectfully doing that. We're incorporating, and it's not an afterthought or a fill in the blank like Raven had mentioned. You know, it's something that we're braiding together to, you know, because whether it's science or traditional knowledge, both of them are equally valued, and both of them strengthen each other and complement each other. And at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same goal, is to make sure that we're maintaining and have sustainability for Mother Earth.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that really important work you're doing. Oral traditions and knowledge holders are so important. I come from a culture that is the direct passage of all of our knowledge, and that really meant a lot. So thank you. That's really fantastic work that you're doing. Moving on to Raven, could you tell us a little bit more about how your ongoing degree in the Master of Marine Management has helped you use your expertise to create ocean protection policies?
Yeah. So I think both MMM and my own personal Indigenous knowledge have helped me in my government career thus far. The MMM program is designed to set you up for an immediate job once you graduate. So in the program, you're going to learn all current ocean issues. You're going to learn how to prepare briefings for your boss with only a few days notice. You're going to learn how to apply for project funding, and you'll learn so many critical skills that are going to help you in your future positions. So in my current case, I have not created any ocean protection policies. I've not been in the department that long, and policies can take years to develop. But my studies have helped me understand the development of policies, and my two-eyed seeing approach has also helped me to add an Indigenous lens to the policy development. So since I've started my career at BIO, I have been able to attend, meetings and working groups where certain words or topics would come up in the meeting, and they were all things that I had learned about, experienced, or heard about, either through MMM or through just my Indigenous lens, which helped me a lot to better understand, the meeting and what's going on, and kind of more so just allow me to sit in, listen, add to the conversation if I want to, without me having to ask numerous questions in order to really understand what's going on. So I think that's one major benefit that I have, and all MMM students do have, is that this program is really going to set you up for when you graduate. You're going to be so unbelievably prepared for when you enter this career field. But I also feel like I have this unique opportunity where I do have an Indigenous lens that I can incorporate into my career. And I'm just very excited to be able to hopefully further my career in the position I am right now and continue to bring my Indigenous knowledge to the table.
That's really fantastic. It sounds like these are amazing opportunities and things that you're doing. So congratulations on that, Raven. Now moving on to Olivia. So I wanted to ask a few questions or ask you more about your publication, Knowledge and Data, an exploration of the use of Inuit knowledge in decision support systems in marine management. If you could talk a bit about that, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, I think it builds a lot on what the other panelists have already mentioned. So this particular chapter in the book titled Governance of Arctic Shipping was published in 2020, and it kind of delves into the challenges of treating Indigenous traditional knowledge as data that is then used as an input into different types of decision support systems and marine spatial planning tools. And it discusses the limitations in data-driven marine and coastal management practices that we often see that attempt to take experiential knowledge, such as local and traditional knowledge, and then turn that into static data points or geographic coordinate on a map. And this results in the original intent and context of the information being lost and misinterpreted. Other panelists have mentioned CARE principles and OCAP, which aim to prevent the misuse of Indigenous knowledge and ensure Indigenous data sovereignty. And it concludes with some guiding principles or criteria for how practitioners can attempt to address some of the limitations in decision support systems and tools and their ability to incorporate Indigenous knowledge in a meaningful way. And they include data sharing and data ownership agreements for proper care and handling of Indigenous knowledge, the importance of participatory planning processes to ensure local and Indigenous priorities are reflected throughout planning and decision making, working towards user-friendly decision support systems that are accessible and enable different forms of knowledge to be used to inform management decisions. Capacity building, super important to support increased access and control of data and involvement throughout planning and management over the long term. And then we've talked about this throughout the panel as well, but co-governance of systems and data policies that support and advance co-governance.
Really interesting. Thank you so much, Olivia. Now back to Lydia. Could you share a little bit about your graduate research focused on uncovering the perception surrounding the management of coastal lagoons in Cape Breton?
Yeah, for sure. I'll just start by situating the subject of the research. Barishwa ponds are a formally recognized wetland in Nova Scotia, and they are, as you mentioned, akin to coastal lagoons. There are over 400 ponds that fringe the shores of the Bredor Lakes in Unama'ki, Cape Breton. And the Bredor Lake watershed actually spans 4 municipalities and 5 First Nations communities and is a recognized UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. So the Mi'kmaq people have lived in that area and been first stewards of the lands and waters there for millennia. And they hold innate cultural, social, economic, and spiritual values related to the ponds. And similarly, the local non-Indigenous populations also greatly value the ponds for many reasons. But these coastal wetlands are being degraded faster than management actions can correct due to watershed development and sea level rise. And so in addition to understanding the biogeophysical properties of the ponds, it's really important to also understand the full range of values and benefits that these ponds provide in any decision-making analysis related to the management of these ponds. So my research aimed to reveal the dominant perspectives around the management of Vereshwa ponds using Q methodology. It also sought to answer how an increased awareness of these perceptions could advance informed management of these coastal wetland ecosystems. So as I mentioned, my supervisor was Dr. Lucia Fanning, and I had significant on-the-ground support by Shelley Denny of UINR. The perspectives from 33 participants from across 5 stakeholder groups, including academia, business, government, non-government organizations, and locals, were captured in the study. And local Mi'kmaq people were invited to participate in the study, although they self-identified in one of the aforementioned groups. The traditional knowledge that they held around these ponds emerged nonetheless, though, through their perspectives. Q methodology is interesting because it leverages both qualitative information in the form of statement sorting exercises and semi-structured interviews, as well as quantitative data in the form of factor analysis performed on the resulting sorts of these numbered statements. It generates patterns of perspectives that are made up of individual values and beliefs, and it can lead to more informed decision-making given that the dominant perspectives actually correlate with statistical confidence. The study resulted in 4 dominant perspectives and 6 key issues, which are detailed in my publication. Ultimately, however, it gave insight into the nuances between each perspective. It's enlightening to note that the dominant perspectives didn't squarely fall in the expected conservationist versus developer dichotomy. Instead, my study revealed subtle differences in the values and worldviews on the way people perceived the ponds. And it could undermine management efforts if these values and worldviews are not taken into consideration. The study also revealed potential areas of conflict related to marine conservation actions. And this is helpful for developing conservation strategies that will be locally accepted and supported by those that are affected by these management actions. Consensus areas were likewise revealed that serve as a starting place for addressing more polarizing areas of conflict. Overall, this is one method to generate stakeholder perceptions and concerns in a controlled, practical, and cost-effective way. And the insights gained from this research ultimately contribute to finding management solutions that help to meet multiple user needs, values, and different worldviews of the people who benefit from these coastal ecosystems.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much, Lydia. Now, Cathy was in and out just a little bit, and we were about to have a bit of a rapid fire round with Cathy, but I guess since Cathy is unable to join us for now, we would like to share with us a little bit of a video by the Ocean School, which Cathy, of course, worked on, speaking about Nutukalink, and we would like to share it in her place unless she's able to join us. Oh, or Cathy will show up. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, I am here.
Awesome. Hi. We're about to show the video, but could I
shoot
some questions at you just before, or?
Why don't you show it and then do that?
For sure. All right.
Wait, it's about 10 minutes, right? Or less, this one?
The video, I'm just going to check and see.
It's about 3 minutes.
Oh, Okay, what is it? The ocean school?
It's the cod one.
Yeah,
from the
good.
ocean school.
Okay, that'll get me started and it'll be a nice break for everybody.
Perfect. I'll share that right now. Just one moment.
Fantastic.
Victoria, there's no sound.
I think you have to put your mic on, Victoria, in order for us to hear it.
One day, my grandmother fish, Nugami, called for me.
Where's little fish? Where'd you go? There you are, Gwiz. I have been waiting for you.
Nugami, will I grow to be as big and strong as you?
Well, in the beginning of time, the Great Spirit, Isul, created all things in nature equally. The sun creates life and gives us our shadows. The shadows reflect the spirits of our ancestors. Amsid Nogama.
Nugami, what does this mean?
It means we are all related. The people of this land realized that we were all of spirit, placed here on Mother Earth to help each other. Glooskap called upon us fish, Nemij, to come to shore and give up our lives. We only took what was needed and gave thanks for our existence. We call that Nedugulink.
Then what happened, Nugami?
For thousands of years, we continued to rely on our brothers and sisters of the woods and waters. The Mi'kmaq called us Beju, the cod. They used small boats called canoes made of birch bark and small nets to catch us. They used us for food and to trade with others for things they did not have. They dried us in the sun and used salt from the sea to preserve us. The Onu, the people, were grateful for the help and honored us. Remember Nedugulink? They too only took what they needed. We lived in harmony with the people, the land, and all things. We filled the sea and we grew large and fat. Your great-great-great-grandfather was the size of a dolphin or a muchbetch.
But why have I never seen a cod so large?
Well, about 500 years ago, people from faraway lands arrived. They came for us, amazed that they could not row through the waters because of our crowds. They came with more and bigger boats and more and bigger nets. And they took us away without honor, without thanks. They caught too many of us. They took us before we could grow big and fat. They took us before we could have babies. They destroyed our homes. They did not learn how to live in harmony. They did not understand Nedugulink.
What has become of us now?
That story is still to be told, Wiz. For you to live strong, for you and your children to grow as large as your great-great-great-grandfather, Niskamich. For us to refill the sea, for that
We must find a way once again to live in harmony with our brothers and sisters. Msit Nogama, all my relations.
Nagespiadoksitkig. And that is the end of the story.
Hi. So, can you hear me, everybody?
Yep. That was fantastic. Thank you. So Cathy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm on the Sky Train from the Vancouver airport to the waterfront right now. So I'm going right to the source. Anyway, I'm the Director of Indigenous Community Engagement at Dalhousie University. And that was a project that I did with NFB and the Ocean School. And I think it was DFO and Dalhousie University that collaborated or cooperated in that. And the request I was given was to speak a bit about spirituality, Mi'kmaq connectiveness, and I guess our worldview in, sorry. And so that's why I started with that, because I thought it spoke quite directly to a lot of the things that I've been happy to learn and to be part of. And I just wanted to say that our ocean, from my own understandings, from my journey within my community with elders and with scientists, is that the ocean is the womb, the waters, or the womb of Mother Earth. And just like the womb of our mother, she provides everything that we need to survive. And just like Mother Earth gives us everything we need to survive, like the plants, the animals, the trees, so does her womb that nurtures us as we were nurtured in our womb. And it's so far pretty much continued to provide us with what we need. However, so much has changed, and the respect for our Mother Earth, our mother's womb, has drastically decreased over the past 500 years. And it was very difficult for us to maintain our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth when so many things around us prevented us from doing so. The story of the cod that you just heard. Oh, here I am. So that's, sorry about that. Anyway, so that's why I thought telling that story about the cod would speak to our relationship to the cod. They are our relatives. We're all related, and we're no better or less than anybody or any living thing on this earth, because as scientists often speak to, that we have a life cycle, and everybody needs everything in the life cycle that the Creator has given us. Yet we've managed to see the destruction and the disappearance of many, many parts of the food chain, the animals, the plants, the pollution of air. I mean, everything that we need to survive, everything we need to live, being made up mostly of water and air. So it's not something just that Mi'kmaq need, it's the world that needs it. So I was really happy to be asked to do this with this lovely panel, because so much of what we have to do to move forward is to practice the two-eyed seeing, where we combine our spirituality and our beliefs from Indigenous knowledges with the modern science that has come here only in the last 500 years. And will you get out to the main wall? We can't get out. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to let somebody else go for now. I'll be right back. I'm just going to try to get out of here.
All right, thank you so much, Cathy. We actually had a rapid fire round of all the questions for Cathy, but I think we'll let her just get out of the train station unless she is available to answer more questions. For now, I think that it's 4:51, so we have about 10 minutes left. I would like to put a quick question just before Cathy can come back to everyone. A final word from any of our panelists tonight on just general themes or general things that they want our audience, because a lot of amazing things were brought up tonight and a lot of things that are so important to the future of not only the human communities around the world, but also to the ocean and our own experiences here in where we live and where we are. Final big takeaways that you want people here to have. I'll start off with Olivia. If anyone wants to start, sorry, I know that was really just like throwing the ball at you, but if anybody wants to start off first, it's totally open.
Sure, yeah, I can go, thanks. I would say that on World Oceans Day, the message that I would like to get out to everyone is to get outside. And I constantly have to remind myself this as well, as someone who works on marine planning initiatives in beautiful Haida, surrounded by the oceans. And it's really hard to get away from my desk. And it's such an important part of what I do, but also really helps you to appreciate and understand the importance of our marine environment. And I think that connection to the marine environment is really important. So yeah, I encourage everyone to get outside and go for an ocean dip or go paddle on the water for harvesting.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Anybody else want to deliver a few words?
I can go. I just wanted to say, Walaaliok to everyone, for joining in and coming here with an open heart and an open mind, because that's the key to being able to incorporate Mi'kmaq knowledge and Indigenous knowledge within science. It's the way to, get that first foot through the door, coming in with an open mind and an open heart when you're working with this knowledge systems, because incorporating two-eyed seeing, using two-eyed seeing, working with two-eyed seeing, it's not easy, and you need patience and you need time. And, I want to thank people for, having that, especially on this day. This day means a lot to me because, it's World Oceans Day, but it's also my birthday, and I couldn't imagine being born on a more different day, because I've always respected the ocean since I was a child, and to be working with the ocean, it's great. I enjoy my work that I do. And, I just wanted to say that, when you want to work with traditional knowledge, you can sit in webinars and read books, but the real knowledge and the real information is going to come from the communities. It's going to come from the knowledge holders and the elders and the users of the lands and the waters. And those relationships take time. And it's hard with science, because science works, on deadline in academia and all of these great organizations. But we have deadlines. We work through a calendar year, but nature does not, and neither does, learning from our communities and our people. So just have patience with yourself and the process, and Walaaliok to everyone, and happy World's Ocean Day.
Thank you so much. Lydia or Raven?
Yeah, so I guess going right off what Alanna said, I think she couldn't have said it any better. But I really think that Oceans Day is about educating people on the current ocean issues. And I think one of the main ocean issues is the non-incorporation of Indigenous knowledge into science, because Indigenous knowledge is science. It's just a different form of science, and it might not be the Western type of science, but it is a type and it can be incorporated, and there are ways to do that. And I commend you all for coming today and learning and listening to what we have to say. There's a lot of people that, are scared to talk about Indigenous knowledge and talk about Indigenous issues because it makes them uncomfortable. But all you have to do is ask questions. We as in Indigenous people want you guys to learn and understand where we're coming from when we're talking about ocean issues and our concerns regarding ocean protection. So yeah, I'm really glad that you all came out today and got to learn, and hopefully you can, if you're not already, incorporating Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous peoples into your conversation to start doing that, because we're here to help you, we're here to learn from you, and we're here to help educate you as well, because we all want the same thing in the end, like I believe Alanna might have said, is that we're all here to work together to achieve the same goals. So thanks everyone for coming out.
Thank you so much, Raven. We'll have Lydia, and then we'll swing right back to Cathy to kind of finish us off tonight.
And thanks again, everyone, for coming to World Oceans Day. Everyone has really touched on a lot of things that I would like to share. Certainly, Olivia, getting outside and connecting with the place that you're in, and having Msit Nogama, or All My Relations, opening up your heart to the fact that we are all connected and that rivers meet the oceans, and it's just when you live through your heart and you become open to these different ways of knowing, your whole world expands and fills with so much more knowledge and understanding of just the world that we live in. And I appreciate including the people and the animals and everything. So I'm just really inspired to be here and to hear from you all and to join you for World Oceans Day. So I hope everyone took something away from today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Final words from Cathy, if you could maybe finish us off with your perspective on why traditional knowledge is so critical for ocean research and protecting the future of our oceans. That'd be fantastic.
Okay, I'm just trying to find a way to get on the screen, but you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for caring about her, about Mother Earth and her oceans. I have a song that I would love to sing, but I don't think we have that kind of time, which is about the ocean and the power of women and the cycles of the moon and the oceans and the ocean, and how women are such connected to that cycle, just like the moon makes sure that the tides come to and fro every 28 days. And that if we start to look a little more to traditional knowledge and work collaboratively with the science, I'm sure that we can reverse, not change the tides, but reverse the direction we're going. But it has to be, and I mean, it has to be a commitment, a world commitment. It has to be now. And how we do that, I've seen Indigenous youth and non-Indigenous youth right across the country start Idle No More. And why not try something like that to put an end to the incredible ignorance of continuing to do the destructive work that is being done by all. And, we're all part of this. And Msit Nogama is that we are all related and we need each other. So Walaliok to all. I apologize for my how I blew in my entrance, but I'm glad I was able to get here. I can't control the delays in flights, but I'm glad I was able to get here. So Walaliok Namultas.
Thank you so much, Cathy. And I think that's although we'd love to hear your song, I think we do have to go, but hopefully in the future we can have you back and you can definitely do a performance for us, and we'd be very grateful.
I can send the song on to link to chat, so you can listen as you want, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
That'd be amazing. So thank you.
Hi, Alanna. Okay.
All right, so I think so we'll get that link from Cathy, and I'd like to extend a huge thank you to all of our amazing panelists for sharing their input and experience within traditional knowledge and our oceans. It is so important, and we are so deeply honored to have you all here. And also we're deeply honored to share and to learn from you and others on the theme of traditional knowledge for World Oceans Day. So I will finish us off just now. Thank you so much for all who joined us. Happy World Oceans Day and good night.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Walan Namotas.